Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. Let's see, it is 10:59 a.m. Pacific Standard, 1:59 Eastern. We'll be jumping on here in the next couple of minutes. Wait for any last-minute attendees to jump in there, and I'll go through the next slides afterwards. Thanks. All right, everybody, for the sake of time, I am going to get started here. Everybody, thank you for joining the webinar here today. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Alex Lepore. I'm the Regional Southwest Sales Manager here at Fortress Power. Welcome back to my webinar series. This week, we're going to be covering a few different topics, mostly the 5 Ps of marketing and some other sales strategy topics and things like that. So as always, for any and all questions, drop them in the chat area where you can ask questions, or we will be doing a brief 10-15 minute Q&A at the end of the presentation following. This presentation will be recorded, so don't feel like you have to scribble down notes mid-presentation. We will be sending the slides and the recording of this wonderful presentation after the fact. So with that being said, I am just going to get started here. And let's do it. So a little bit about Fortress Power. If you're new, jumping on this webinar for the first time or wanted to learn more about who we are here at Fortress Power, we're a lithium battery provider focused on the residential and commercial space with our options. So we are headquartered right in Southampton, Pennsylvania. It's around 25-30 minutes northwest of the city of Philadelphia. And we were founded back in 2016. We're owned by a group of investment bankers and solar veterans who had been in the space for 10 and even 15 years before founding Fortress Power. On the right-hand side, you'll see our facility. It's a 30,000 square foot facility for research and development, sales and logistics, and we do have 3 other warehouses in Texas, California, and Florida. So we are all over the continental US. And we've also done installations not only in the continental US, but also in Canada, the Central Caribbean, South America, Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. So we certainly, since 2016, have had our fair share of experience with battery projects and hoping to continue that trend. We are the key lithium battery supplier for SEPTA, the local railway company based outside of Philadelphia, along with Hydro-Quebec, a Canadian utility company, and the Navajo Reservation based in Oklahoma is using our products for a large off-grid application. So very neat there. This is where we're based. So what we're going to cover today, we're talking about some of the market trends that we're seeing here as we come into the fourth quarter of this year, go through the 5 Ps and some sales strategy notes. We'll go through some of the different applications of which you can consider using Fortress for your projects, touch base quickly on some of the options that we have here, and then we'll jump into the Q&A. So without further ado, I will get started. So earlier this year, time goes really fast. This is actually from late last year. The Department of Energy released a new analysis regarding energy storage and energy storage growth. So you're seeing that by 2030, stationary deployments, what Fortress does, a stationary battery, is going to exceed 150 gigawatt hours of deployments. This is a 27% annual growth rate for grid-related storage applications. If you guys can see here on the right-hand side, 2021, grid-related is this orange color. We're seeing the grid-related storage applications continually rising from 2021 to the end of this decade. And the largest market, surprisingly, is going to be North America at a whopping 41.1 gigawatt hours of stationary energy storage deployed. So batteries, if you look at the trend of solar, batteries is going to be following that trend, and I'll speak a little bit more to that in the next few slides. Now, more recently, as of 9/29, the Solar Market Insight Report, which you can read here when you get this presentation, really posted some new notes after the end of the third quarter on solar and storage deployments. So as of 9/29, the United States officially surpassed 3 million installations across all market segments. The vast majority are residential. Residential solar was up 2% over Q1 2021, but up 46% from Q2 of 2020 when we had got hit by COVID. So we're definitely seeing, based off of the second bullet point, we're definitely seeing that bounce back from the COVID kind of fiasco and moving back in that better trajectory for growth. Total, the US installed 5.7 gigawatts of solar PV in Q2 2021 to reach a total of 108 gigawatts of DC of total installed capacity, enough to power 18.9 million American homes. Guys, whether you're a solar distributor, a solar installer, or somewhere in between, we really are making the dream come true. 18.9 million American homes being powered by solar PV with or without an addition of a battery. So very happy. I think industry-wide, this is great news for us as we really are powering American homes. We're helping others, whether it's backing up their facility, decreasing electrical loads, everything else in between. Again, if you do want to read the executive summary that was posted, you can click here, and there are some references also that you can review on that link. So moving right along, why are we seeing this growth with battery backup? Right, not only with solar, clearly solar has been growing over the past few years, but why batteries? Why is the Department of Energy saying, hey, we're going to see this massive influx in battery awareness and battery need? The first thing, like I mentioned, we've seen the cost of solar falling around 20% or more over the past 5 years. And by 2029, the end of this decade, we're going to see a 46% price reduction in the lithium battery cells. So what does this mean? Batteries are going to get more affordable, just how solar did. And it's to become more standardized, meaning more people can get access to a battery system in addition to their solar system. The next thing is the rising incentives, right? We have the ITC tax credit, 26% here in the US was extended. And there's also other incentives, whether you're international or you're in the US, that you can take advantage of. One that comes to mind in different statewide incentives is the SCHIP incentive here in California. You have the current connected incentive in Massachusetts, which we're just approved for, and other different statewide incentives where you can either use it for batteries or for solar. So taking advantage of some of those incentives, whether you're the end user or the installer, certainly a good idea. And the next thing is this shifting mindset. I think we're all pretty aware of how fear, especially for a battery backup system, can cause more batteries to become more popular. And to prove this, if you look at the average Atlantic hurricane season, this was a new report posted by the National Oceanic Atmospheric Association. Effective of 2021, we're seeing the average of 12 storms, 6 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes getting bumped up to 14 storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. Now, folks, I don't need to basically bring to light all the inclement weather we've dealt with over the past year. I think we're all very aware of the wildfires and snowstorms in Texas and flooding and everything else. So I think the key thing here is these trends are only going to continue to get worse, right? And that is, I think, one of the driving factors as people are now seeing that the grid is maybe not as reliable as it once was, or on the flip side, it's still reliable, but they're not accounting for all these massive storms and all this inclement weather to be had. The next thing on the shifting mindset is this higher emphasis on renewables, right? So with the effects of climate change that we're seeing a more demand to go clean quicker, with different cities setting certain goals to be net zero by 2035, 2040, or even 2050. So we're seeing this higher emphasis on renewables. We have scientists all around the world basically confirming that climate change is human caused, and we need to be proactive to solve this problem that we've created for ourselves. And the last but not least, thing is the recent political administration change. How recent? Within the past year at this point, as we come into November, December time, but nonetheless, within that recent political administration change, we're certainly seeing the ITC tax credit. We're seeing that trickle down since that political administration change of really going to clean energy and moving away from traditional ONG and things like that. So if you ask me, how would I break down why are batteries growing? You break it down to the affordability of the actual system, more incentives by federal and state governments, and then a new mindset of how people view the grid, how people want to view emergency power and being self-sufficient or grid independent, let's say. So very interesting there. And what does this affect? What is this going to affect for your business, or even just in general, as more batteries get deployed? Well, the first thing for your business side of it is that you're going to get more revenue, right? You're going to follow this trend at the end of this decade by jumping on the energy storage bandwagon, let's say. Let me go back here. So you're going to get opportunities for more projects with batteries that are acquiring them, and larger projects that a battery bank may be sufficient for, right? If they're doing a battery for demand charge or demand management, that's certainly a large project that would look really good in the utility bill. It is proven that there's up to 30% growth for your business adding energy storage to your projects. Now, most installers at this point, I think, know that batteries are the wave of the future. Some are still waiting. So I think that if you are waiting to find that right battery or the right timing for that, the sooner is going to be better, because you certainly don't want to be left in the dust once the dust settles and everybody has a battery provider and you do not. The second thing here is this marketing reach, right? As a battery expert, you're going to get more referrals, right? Word of mouth marketing is extremely prominent, even whether it's digital or just face to face. So as a battery expert doing battery projects, you become the end user's key resource for not only their battery questions, but also their family and their friends. And I did mention on that third bullet point, what is the impact if you don't do it, right? There is such a thing as impacts for not doing something or a lack of action. And that impact, like I mentioned, you're really missing out on this substantial growth in energy storage by the end of this decade. You're missing out on all those referrals, missing out on all that business that's getting drummed up as batteries become more popular, as the incentives get better, X, Y, and Z. So there is a pretty substantial effect on not only having energy storage in your proposals, but there is also that flip side of, if I don't do it, the adverse effect is actually worse, right? Because it may not be very busy now, but next year and the following year, energy storage is projected to grow 2 or even 3 times over. So get into it now while there's still room, because you certainly don't want to be pushed out at the end of the day as grid-tied storage transitions to hybrid storage, or grid-tied projects to hybrid, excuse me. So the next slide I have here is the all-elusive 5 Ps of marketing. So you may be wondering, Alex, you're in sales, right? Why are you bringing in marketing to us? Where did you come up with this? Why did you do this? And I thought this was a different spin, because I think everybody knows about the 4 or 5, or some people say even 7 Ps of marketing. But even if you are a professional marketer, it doesn't hurt to learn about it again, get some more information about it, and bring it back to the front of your brain, right? And I also think that with this approach, it forces you to think of which areas of your business you can change and improve upon, right, to help meet the needs of your particular target market and add value and differentiate yourself from other, competitors or other options on the market using these 5 Ps. So the 5 Ps I'm going to go over today are product, price, position, promotion, one and the same, place or placement, and then profit. So the product, obviously the product, you have to look at what products you're using, whether they're solar modules, solar batteries, racking, X, Y, and Z as a solar installer, because the products that you're using should be solving the urgent need or pain, right? And they should be doing it well with quality. You have to assess the products that you're using and connect the dots for the needs of your customers. Now, each needs of your customers is going to be different based on where you're located, what kind of projects that you take on. So the product piece is one of the most important pieces because, for example, if you're an off-grid installer somewhere using something like a lithium cobalt battery is not going to be the best fit for your customer, whereas something even like a lithium iron battery or possibly even a lead acid battery may be a better fit. So if the customer is not completely aware of what your products are doing and how they're doing that, then you're not fulfilling that need or desire to get them where they are to where they want to be, right? And so knowing the products that you're using, what need that they're solving, what desire that they're fulfilling for your end user, paramount, obviously, as the first P in our marketing breakdown here is the product tab. The next thing we have is the price, the all-elusive price. What is it going to cost the customer to not have what I'm offering? Right, in this case, it's going to, if they don't go with solar, it's high utility bills. If they don't have battery, it's not having access to an emergency power system. So pricing, you have to price your product to what the customers can pay, but also keep in mind what other of your competitors are charging, along with where you fit in that healthy scheme of pricing. It's very, being in solar as is, this is a very high ticket industry. So we have to realize that where we're putting our pricing is also going to lead the forefront of how people view your business, what type of impression they're going to get when they come back to you, because they can always go online and find pricing online, right? So what price are you going to offer and what is justifying that price? There are other prices internally to be aware of, not just from you to the customer, but internally to be aware of as you kind of do your forecasting, things like that. Internal costs, right? Cost of actually running the business, accessibility. What is the accessibility of products as is now? Is there a very, in the industry now, there are delays in lots of different things. What is the accessibility? Is that driving the price up? How does that ultimately affect you? And then how does that affect your business as you talk to the end user? What is the market condition for the products that you're selling, right? Is the market favorable to price changes or is it not favorable to price changes? Certain materials that you're using may be favorable to certain price changes and some may certainly not be. So really important to differentiate those two things. And then the last thing here is the model. How are you charging for this product? What price are you using? Are you leveraging financing? What does that look like there? So far we've covered the product. What are you selling that's solving the need? And then where are you pricing it at so you can be successful for your company and differentiate yourself from other competitors out there in all sorts of different aspects, right? The last thing, or the third thing, excuse me, is the position promotion. This is sometimes just called promotion, right? This basically covers every strategy you're going to use to sell the product and what connects to the actual revenue, right? This is inbound marketing, direct sales, press launches, everything that comes with promotion to get your name and get your brand out there so you can then offer the products that are solving a need at an affordable price by leveraging your promotions, right? This could be online ads, physical ads, door-to-door, selling Girl Scout cookies. It could really be anything that you want it to be, but position promotion starts with budgeting and a marketing plan to figure out how am I going to get the word out there? What product am I going to be using? To what price is this the bread and butter of what I'm seeing right now? And then how do I rinse and repeat the systems in place for promotions? Is this a weekly system, a monthly system, a quarterly system, or a yearly system, right? Super important to differentiate yourself on the ads because everybody sees the ads on Facebook. So what can you do from in your world to make it different and be different, right? The fourth to last thing is the place. Now this says you want to be located on a highly coveted corridor. This is assuming that we're working at a brick and mortar shop, right? Where we have a store and it's on the intersections of First and Main Street, and we get a lot of foot traffic, and therefore we can sell more candy. Now, I took this in a different way in that it includes not only the location of where you're at, but the placement of where you're going, the places of which you're visiting as you're going out on proposals or speaking to different people in that place, right? Each place is going to require a different kind of solution based off of that place's individual needs, right? If you're in Northern California, you're in high, wildfire risk areas, that place is certainly different than Southampton, Pennsylvania, and the needs are drastically different per individual place. So knowing not only geographically, that's the better word, geographically place-wise, but also where you are in your geography really matters, because that's also going to influence on what kinds of people you're talking to, who are your competitors, and everything under the sun there. So going back through, we've hit 4 so far. We have the product, solving the need and desire for your end user and portraying that value to them. The price, what is your bread and butter price, and what is the cost to the customer to not go with something that you're offering, right? There is the cost of going with something, but there is that cost of not going with something too, just like I mentioned, if you do not pick up energy storage here as this market continues to grow. We have the promotion. How are you getting the word out? How are you strategizing yourself to sell more or get more referrals or increase your business, whatever that looks like? And then the place. And the last thing is the profit or people. I mentioned profit or people because I do feel they're interchangeable, right? People are really going to have to be considered, because the people that are in your company, the people that you're working with, they're ultimately going to help you for your business create a profit. If you don't have good people working for you, it's going to make it that much harder to get this profit between the costing that you're offering and then the price of which they're buying for. People, I think, really, marketing is a lot about people, right? Knowing what are their fears, their psychological elements, what kind of things are they worried about, what is their gap, right? I think people ties the 5 P's of marketing very, very nicely, because at the end of the day, it is about people. We are in a relationship business where we should be working with different people about what products are going to fulfill their needs, what is the pricing of which is going to make it affordable for them, can they use financing, how did they learn about your business, were they online, they saw a promotion for a solar installer or a user, and that's how they found out about you, where are you located, and what are the people like there. So I know it is fairly top level, but I think at the same time, if you dive into it, I think you get a lot of value from knowing the people and then working your way back up to what product fits the people. I made this marketing planning worksheet here in the bottom left. Feel welcome to click on that. It essentially breaks down, if I can do this effectively. So it essentially breaks down step 1, the product in the 3 C's. So what is the product description that you're selling? What is your customer description? The capability description, you can go at features and benefits analysis. Lots of good things here. So I'm gonna head back on over here. Can everybody see my slides okay? Okay, I am still sharing, so great. So feel welcome to download this. Oops. Feel welcome to download this document after I send out these slides, and you can take some time to go through there. And maybe you have a really good idea of the people and what profit you're getting and the place of which you're located, but hey, repetition never hurts, and you may learn something new as going through that, which may change your strategy into 2022. So some of the tips I always like to mention on selling energy storage, kind of working off the 5 P's of marketing: product, price, promotion, place, profit, and people, profit/people for 5. What are some of the tips I can always recommend in relation to the 5 P's of marketing? So using some keys to success, using keywords like payback and security, safety, value, and longevity, right? This is your promotion side of it, right? You're using keywords, and your strategy is to get in the end user's mind that this is a safe, tangible investment, because power is more important than it's ever been in the past 100 years, right? Leveraging references and incentives like customer references. This goes back to the people side of it, right? The people in place. If the place of which you're at is a very tight-knit community, then using people for word-of-mouth marketing is going to mean that much more. And on the vice versa, if you're in an extremely urban or a very population-dense area, customer references can be used even to better effect, just because of the sheer volume of people there. And more likely than not, you have more references in a more population-dense area, sometimes, but not all. Sometimes, but not all. Using the 26% federal ITC tax credit and different statewide incentives is also certainly helpful to help you really make it more manageable for an end user to go with energy storage. This goes back down to the price of the 5 Ps of marketing, right? That's going to help the end user digest the price of which you're providing the unit for what their pricing is, but also at the same time, they're feeling like, well, I'm getting a deal because I'm getting 26% off. And if there's other statewide incentives where you are, maybe you can double dip, right? Going back to that all important price on the 5 Ps of marketing. Some of the typical objections that you'll get are on the high pricing of batteries. You'll get them on the I'll wait for the sky to turn purple, I'll wait for battery prices to go down, I'll wait till something better comes out. And I think this really goes in two ways. I think it goes into the product section, because I think the more that you can portray the value of your product, the less that they'll feel that they have to wait for something better, or better yet, that they're not getting their money, they're not going to get their money's worth, and that they're worried about buyer's remorse investing into something as expensive as a battery, right? I usually like to mention, well, there are financing options available for energy storage and solar systems, and ITC tax credits and statewide incentives. And if the customer decided to wait, that's actually going to be more detrimental to them, right? The later that they wait to get a battery and solar system, that's more money they're paying the utilities. That's more, insecurity that they have in their home in the event of a large storm or an outage. And if now is just not the time because of those two things, always sell for the future, right? Go back to your customer, keep abreast with the newest updates at your company, industry updates on new battery chemistries, new battery options, because, in all honesty, whether it's Fortress or another provider, the most important thing is that you're going back, you're getting the sale, and you're able to rinse and repeat that, and hopefully use that customer as a reference. So kind of going back to the people aspect of it, considering people as you go back as an educator, not as a salesperson, right? You want to educate them on, well, the only reason I'm coming back here is because I want to see what is new in your world. How can we help her in my end? And also ask for the review or for the referral, right? Take that from A to Z, right? As you go working kind of backwards in the 5 Ps of marketing. So we did cover a lot. I think if I had to put in a nutshell, 5 Ps of marketing are very interchangeable, but it all starts with the person, the people that you're working with internally in your company and your customer base. That is going to determine the placement of your company, the promotions that you use, the pricing that you're putting out there, and the products that you use. And I wanted to also mention there's a very interesting book over here on the right-hand side. It's called Selling the Wheel by Jeff Cox and Howard Stevens. Great book. It goes through choosing the best ways to essentially sell to different kinds of customers depending on the industry that you're in. So they go through 3 kinds of things. They go through different categories, different kinds of customers, and different kinds of sales members. So for example, in our industry, we're in a fast growth category. What's the word I'm looking for? The thing, I guess, about fast growth category, the factor about the fast growth category is that the technology is advancing and it's beginning to get into widespread use, right? We're not there yet where solar is, where that's more of a matured market. We're still having the technology advance, whether it's differences in chemistry, battery management systems, and we're starting to see energy storage kind of just rounding the turn to get into widespread use. So we're in this fast growth, and I think the thing that illustrates it the most to me is this chart, right? You look at the Department of Energy is going to release a forecast on showing the growth by 2030. That essentially tells me that we are just right in that corner to get into the meat and potatoes, let's say, of our industry in terms of just deployment. Next thing here is the type of customer, right? There's not one customer that fits all, right? There's two that come to mind here in the book, but I wanted to mention there's the progressive customer and the relationship customer. The progressive customer wants an advanced solution with a higher level of performance and is willing to pay more for that advanced solution, right? A progressive customer may be a customer that traditionally used lead acid batteries in their off-grid system, for example, and now they want the advanced lithium iron phosphate because of the higher level of performance and the quality of that, right? So you have your progressive customers, and I think that's where a lot of our customers in the solar space are, is that they're willing to spend a little bit more to get all the extra bells and whistles, right? And then you have the relationship customers. They would just want a reliable, accepted product and are knowledgeable to a degree to make informed decisions, right? So a relationship customer, these are people that you're going to want to foster a relationship with, because they want to see that not only do you know what you're doing, but the product itself is reliable, accepted, and they are able and willing to go online and do research and learn about their product that they're buying, whether it be energy storage, a car, a hot tub. They are going to want to do research and see that not only is the manufacturer well vetted, but also the person that's doing it knows what the heck they're talking about. And then last but not least, we have the type of sales member. So there are 4 types of sales members, and here I mentioned the wizard and relationship builder. The wizard is a team player that enjoys challenges for unique solutions, right? This is someone that goes out there, designs a full system, unique projects like off-grid or peak shaving, and puts together those solutions while all in the same time, making sure that for the 5 P's of marketing, it's the right product, the right price, in the right placement that's going to fulfill the need or desire of the end user, right? The wizard is like, in other words, some people call it the like a closer, but not in the same kind of realm as a closer. Just closes. This is someone that's going to create and then grow that relationship and finish there. And the next thing here is the relationship builder. So pretty straightforward here. They're going to develop good long-term customer relations. This could be someone on an inside sales team that goes out to existing customers asking, how is your experience here? Can you leave a review? Do you have anybody else that you may know that would benefit from using our services? So really harping on developing the long-term customer relations, as it's very rare, I think we can all agree in our industry, where you don't sell a battery and you never hear from that person ever again, or you don't sell solar and you never hear from them again. More likely than not, you will be back in touch with them. So having those good long-term customer relations is going to help you get more referrals. You're going to get better reviews on your Google page. It's going to trickle down, and ultimately it's going to help your business at the end of the day. Selling the Wheel can be found online on Amazon. I would recommend it. I know we're all very busy, especially in Q4, but over the holidays, if you're flying to see some family or just sitting around after Thanksgiving dinner, I would recommend reading through it. Very good book. I found it very helpful in my own life. So moving right along here, I want to go through some of the different applications we can use our batteries for, right? Batteries can be pretty vague in some areas, but there are many different applications to help end users decide upon how they want to use their battery, right? You have it for typical emergency power systems. You can use it in self-supply. So installing PV where the grid is prohibiting backfeeding or net metering. There's a huge thing now in California where they're trying to limit net metering. So this is where batteries are really going to shine, no pun intended. The next thing here is time of use. So you can use it to save money on your electric bill to charge the batteries at off-peak times and then discharge them during peak periods, right? Southern California, here where I am, it's, you know, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. I'm getting charged, I think, double the amount during these off-peak times. Now, I live in an apartment complex, but if I had a home, I would get a battery and solar, and I could run all my high loads during those peak times and avoid paying the utility for those high peak loads. Next thing, we have off-grid. You need batteries in off-grid, pretty straightforward. And then you have demand reduction. So this is where, especially in commercial buildings, they will use demand reduction to reduce those demand charges that they're getting after they reach a certain threshold in kilowatt usage, for example. Here's some of the compatible inverters that we're working with. So we just do the battery here at Fortress. For those of you guys that know, we are working with many of the popular 48-volt inverters on the market. You'll see Solar, Schneider, Outback, Magnum, SMA, and Victron. We have established closed communication with Solar and Schneider and recently Victron, and we're doing some testing with SMA. We're waiting for them to finalize some testing, and we need to do some testing as well. So this closed communication, for those that don't know, is essentially where the battery, BMS, and the inverter talk with one another. As an installer, it makes your life a heck of a lot easier to install the system, but also benefits the end user because they can get remote monitoring with a lot of these inverters, knowing that the battery is going to be relaying that information to the inverter based off a stated charge. It's a little bit more accurate than reading it based off of the voltage of the battery. So dealer's choice here, folks, with which inverter you guys want to use. Some of them are AC or DC coupled, some of them are only AC, and some of them are only DC. So again, what product in your 5 P's of marketing is going to fulfill the need and desire of your customer? It starts here with the inverter. Which inverter is going to be the best fit for that product based upon what place they're in or placement that they're in? It all starts here with the inverter as the brains of the system. We have 2 main products at the moment here, folks. So we have our eVault Max as seen here on the left-hand side, and the little sibling to the eVault Max, the eFlex 5.4. eVault Max, pretty straightforward. It's an 18.5 kilowatt hour unit, scalable up to 20 units. That's right, 20 units, you heard me correctly, for a massive 370 kilowatt hours for battery bank. Comes with a local monitoring LCD display where you can see the voltage of the battery, state of charge, current, and power. And for those of you in California, it is the largest single unit that's approved for SCHIP at 17.7 kilowatt hours of AC. Because of its larger size, and because it comes on wheels, because it is fairly heavy, it makes it very easy to install. It looks really, really nice in or near people's homes as one large battery. It's around the size of like a college refrigerator, if you could imagine that sitting in front of you. So it's a little bit taller, a little bit thinner, but because of it's just one size, you roll it on into site. There's knockouts here on the left-hand side that you'll see. They're like 1.5 inches. You knock out the knockouts, and then you can parallel many batteries together and then land them on a common bus. So pretty neat. This is why we like to mention that the mid-sized commercial market's in our reach, because this eVault Max can scale up to 370 kilowatt hours. Now, don't let me forget our eFlex product, the little sibling, 5.4 kilowatt hours. It's scalable up to 15 for 81 kilowatt hours. The key differentiator here is that this is an outdoor rated IP65 aluminum enclosure. So this unit is outdoor rated. We do recommend not to stick it in direct rain or direct sun. Both of these units do have the closed loop communication, just to be clear with those inverters I had mentioned, and they are both UL 9540 listed. So for those that are not aware or not too sure of what 9540 is, it's essentially a test that we have to perform with a NRDL, a national recognized testing laboratory, thus proving that our batteries essentially fit the bill and can pass the tests for a lot of these local jurisdictions and municipalities. Back to the eFlex, it comes with an integrated heatsink. This ribbing here, I'm going to try a zoom. Awesome. This ribbing here, there it is. This is an integrated heatsink, so this is going to allow for 5 times better thermal performance in cold or hot temperatures. Now, cold temperatures usually have more of an adverse effect on batteries than warmer temperatures. If you're in a colder environment, there are some ways to which you can keep the ambient temperature of the room enclosure area warm. There's heat strip applications, trickle charging a space heater, X, Y, and Z. So you have that option where you have the eFlex as an outdoor rated unit. The eVault Max is currently just an indoor rated unit. However, I have seen people make an enclosure to go around it, like a NEMA 3 enclosure from Hoffman, where they can put it on a concrete pad outside. And typically the inverter, an outdoor rated inverter, would go right on the wall behind it, battery right below it, or depending on how the code is, usually you want some kind of spacing between the inverter and the battery. So keep that in mind there. So we have the eVault Max and the eFlex. So essentially what you're going to be doing is using in the 5 P's of marketing the products. You have many different inverters. Some are preferred for you and some are not, maybe. You have 2 different kinds of batteries to which you can flexibly design systems based upon the people in their placement of which they're looking to do, right? So you're going to be considering products that fit the pricing bill for your customers, that are in a certain place where they're getting wildfires and power outages from PG&E, for example. So you're using the 5 Ps of marketing almost every day. You just may not even be aware of it, right? That's I think the thing I wanted to portray is that you could use the 5 Ps of marketing clearly in a marketing aspect, but in sales, in management, you can relay them in all different levels of your business. What are you gonna need to get started? Right, what's the first step, right? You're getting out there and you're getting excited to do your first Fortress battery. What are you going to need to do? The first thing is you're going to go on your site visit. Right, you're going to have to see where you're going to be installing the system. You're going to look for a potential solar array size. Are they doing a roof mount? Are they doing a ground mount? Are they doing a dual tracker system? What does that look like? Right, then you're going to want to walk them through what is their load profile and what application are they going to be using this for. Right, they're using this for off-grid, emergency power, self-use, et cetera, et cetera. And then going through that load profile of, well, what loads do you want powered and how long do you want them powered for? Are you planning on increasing the system? Right, getting all this information while on your site visit, so that way when you are learning more about your customer, you know what kind of customer that person is, right? Are they a progressive customer or are they a relationship builder customer? What is the application of which they're going to be using a battery for? And then lastly, what is their gap? Where are they now and where do they want to be? And you as the solar installer, your job is to figure out how to close that gap to get them where they are to where they want to be. So really important there on that first initial site visit, getting all the information that you can, building a customer profile, and then closing that gap. And like I mentioned, bringing in that 5 Ps of marketing, you know, on a general scale, what products would fit well, in what place, in what price, and what promotions would essentially grow that business after the fact. A few other things to keep in touch about with your customers, the budget and timeline, right? You don't want to be putting all your effort and eggs in one basket for 15 eVault Maxes and the customer says, well, my budget was $20,000, right? eVault Maxes are not $20,000 for 15 of them. So going back and reviewing the budget and the timeline of their project is going to help you manage expectations, right? They're not going to get the battery and say, this is way higher than what you quoted me. This doesn't make any sense. I want my whole home backed up. You know, XYZ told me I could do it with one battery. Manage the expectations out the gate. It'll prevent miscommunication, buyer's remorse, and callbacks. And I think we can all agree that callbacks is something we try to avoid because that means that it's more time, it's more energy, and not that they're always bad, but certainly there's something to be said about that. And then last but not least, review that project scope with the customer. Go through, hey, on our first site visit, we proposed this solar array size. We took a look at your load profile for this application. You had mentioned you're here, you'd like to be here. This is your budget. Going back through all these different things, answering the questions is going to help you manage those expectations, like I just mentioned, and help you get the project closed in a sooner amount of time than if you were trying to rush it and make them to have a hasty decision, something you certainly don't want to do. So we do have a lot of services that we can offer here at Fortress Power. We have a hands-on management team. If you guys have met my boss, Jing Yu, she's very hands-on with working with installers and our distribution partners. We have personalized client relations. I'm sure if you are working with me, you have gotten most of my emails and have or have not responded to them. We'd have co-marketing support and can provide leads as an authorized dealer. We have an authorized dealer program, which I'd recommend if you are not a dealer to get signed up for. You can find more information on our website. And I'll bring up the next slide too, where you can find that information. We can also help with design and installation support. So for any new projects you're putting together for a first Fortress install, you can use resources like me, my technical support team, or your respective sales representative to help you design that system, or just confirm, hey, I was quoting 3 eVault Maxes. Does this look like what I'm proposing? Just to make sure you're double checking all your math. And the last thing is we do have on-site technical support available. Kind of leads me to my next slide, and there's many different sizing resources to help you with not only technical support, but also sizing your projects. Go on our website, fortresspower.com. You can hit up our YouTube channel and see a lot of videos where our famous John Cromer does so many videos on sizing and designing systems, what to look out for, tips and tricks. Energy Sage has a good sizing tool, and last but not least, Energy Toolbase. Energy Toolbase is typically for larger projects, but heck, it's another resource out there for you so you can cross your T's and dot your I's. Regarding technical support, you can get in touch with my technical support team in 3 ways. I recommend Discord. Discord, I did not know what it was when it was first released, but now that I know what it is, such a fantastic tool. Such a fantastic tool. You can go on there, chat live with one of my technical support team members, talk with other people who have installed our batteries, and we can really all work together to help solve your problem. You can find class slides here, discussion forums here. You can apply for your NAPCEP credits here, and obviously you can get technical support here as well. So if you're not familiar with Discord and don't want to go in that direction, you can always email techsupport@fortresspower.com or a good old-fashioned phone call, as we do have tech support on the phones as well. So that is all I had for you guys here today. You'll see my contact information here in the bottom left. Like I mentioned, for more information, you can always send information to our sales email, our technical support email, and our warranty email with our company line and website here. So lots of things we covered here today. The key points here are this: 5 P's of marketing are very important and cover multiple aspects of your business, not just the marketing aspect. You can plan and strategize your business using the 5 P's of marketing and the different selling strategies I went over today, knowing what industry that we're in, what kind of customers we're working with, and therefore what kind of salespeople you want to have on your team, going through some of the options we have here at Fortress and the inverters we're partnered with, so that way you can put together custom projects for your customers based upon their location, based upon what product's going to solve their need, back to that 5 P's of marketing. And then lastly, we just went through some final touches on the Discord channel we have here at Fortress, different sizing resources, and some of the things we can help out here with at Fortress. So that being said, I'm going to crack open these questions and we can do Q&A for a few minutes. All right, we got a lot of them. Awesome. Okay, first and foremost, Marcos Caparo. I do not have anything in Spanish. What I can do, send over an email to this email I'm providing to you. And what he can do is, he's our Latin America sales rep. I'm hoping he can get you these slides and maybe have them translated in Spanish for you. JD Polk, thanks for joining. What city in Florida? I think it's in Miami. I think it's Miami, Florida. And the second answer to your question is, everybody, any R&D in larger container battery bank stacks. So yeah, there is a way that you can do container solutions and put many batteries in container, whether it's a 20-foot container or a 40-foot container. It's typically a custom project. So I would recommend, JD, get in touch with us here at Fortress. Tell us about your project. We can see if indeed the container application is going to make the most sense. John, we will get a copy, and the webinar and the slides, you will get a copy of these. JD, do you have a webinar for installing? Yeah, JD, head on over to our YouTube channel. Look for the installation webinars. They're typically presented by one of our applications engineers. I know John Cromer just recently did one. I would head on over there, or on the flip side of it, jump on our website or our Discord channel. You'll see all kinds of technical trainings for installation there. Tom Honey, hey man. The E-Flex is not rated. Tom, we're gonna be looking to do caps on the E-Flex. I've seen people, they've done like a plastic overhang over top of it if it's outside, but we will be hopefully doing some caps to put on the actual terminal, the M10 terminal. For now, it does come with a rubber, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a rubber cover almost, where you can put that rubber cover over the cap. That works, but we are going to be trying to do like an actual waterproof or water resistant cap on the terminals eventually. Okay, Jeremy Pearl, thanks for joining here. Here is the question. Does the E-Flex unit need to be installed in some kind of rack or enclosure? I'm not understanding how they are outdoor rated, as all AHJs I've worked with, Central California, have required batteries to be installed in a rack and enclosure. It's a great question, Jeremy. So I always the answer to your first question is it doesn't need to be put in a rack to be installed outside. Now, if your local AHJ is requiring that you put it in a rack to have it inside, we do have some solutions available for that. I'm gonna send over my email for you and send me an example. Send me an example of something that you've worked with for a rack, and I'll be able to respond with what I recommended here. Some AHJs, they are, so I can't speak to Central Coast too much. I'm not very familiar with it, quite honestly. But in some AHJs, if it is outdoor rated, hang it up on a wall with an overhang, that's one aspect. Now, if it is in a rack, like up against the wall, obviously that rack needs to be somewhat rated for outdoor installations as well. I think it really does depend on the AHJ, but we can talk about it. Let's talk about it and see what would be the best fit. Okay. Let's see, where am I? Martin, thanks for joining here. How many eVault Maxes can we use on a closed loop communication with Solarc? You can do up to 20 of them. Up to 20. So you can go up to the max limit with 20 eVault Maxes with the Solarc in closed loop communication. Brian, thanks for joining. How easily integrated with Enphase and SolarEdge? We are not compatible. What we'll have to do, Brian, is we're going to need to AC couple the hybrid inverter like a Schneider or Solarc or SMA or Victron. We'll have to AC couple that to the existing Enphase or SolarEdge systems. The reason for this is that it's a high voltage system, right? We do a 48-volt battery. So we need that inverter to make that frequency shift so that way the battery can store the energy. Hey, John. Yep, we're going to have the webinar recording link sent out probably tomorrow. Anthony, is the eFlex battery compatible with any inverter? Are there specific inverters we need to use them with? Anthony, yes. So what I recommend is that if there's a 48-volt inverter out there that you are using that you do not see on, bear with me, on this list, send it on over to me and my team. We can see if it is going to be indeed compatible, but the list here are the inverters that we're compatible with for the 48-volt side. If there are other 48-volt inverters, send them down with their specs. We can see if it's going to work with us and we can add them onto this list. Hey, Carlos, thanks for jumping in here. Inventory at the moment is as follows. Where are you? eVault Max has a 7-week lead time for new orders. For those of you that have seen the port congestion in LA, that's essentially what's causing this. The eFlex we have readily available, folks. So if you do have an immediate project, immediate need, we have the eFlex available. eVault Max, around 7 to 8 weeks for delivery. So, if you place an order today, hopefully it would get in before the end of the end of this year, 2021. Hey, Nate, we'll be providing that slide deck. Mr. Hullums, we'll be providing that slide deck after. Thanks, JD. Appreciate the kind comments. Ronald, yeah, I think a lot of commercial manufacturers or commercial buildings have high demand charges. Ronald, if you want to send me over an email with your typical project, I only just need green button data. That green button data, I can run through my tool here and see if it makes sense for them to go with batteries and solar for reducing those demand charges. It is possible, but usually typically requires a pretty large battery. All right. Trevor, welcome. Hello, yes, we are represented in Trinidad and Tobago. Gonna get you over the email to my representative there. A boots, Tom? I'd agree. I think I know what you're meaning by that. Every time it does this weird thing. Hello, Jean. Yes, the Fortress batteries are UL listed to UL 9540, 1973, and 1642. 3 UL listings on our products. You're welcome, Jeremy. Ron, is there a formula, dollar per kilowatt hour demand charge, kilowatt hour, and battery power need to cover demand charges? There's no formula per se because every project's different. So what typically happens is you take the 15-minute interval data, We use the energy tool-based sizing tool, and then we can see based on that data where they're seeing those high peaks for demand charges. What we then do is size a battery and bank for offsetting during those peak times to bring that down. So there's no formula per se, but there is that way through energy tool-based, we can go through and send you a report upon, well, this is the data that you sent us, this is what we're recommending, and this is their payback, this is what they're avoiding for their cost, X, Y, and Z. So there's no formula that I use, but I do use certain tools to make that essentially proposal for y'all. Delivery times, John, 7 weeks for maxes, readily available for E-flexes, I'd say 7 to 10 days. 7 to 10 days, I think it's a pretty healthy lead time. Carlos, thanks for your question. What are the market suggested retail prices? Great question. E-Vault maxes go for around $14,225 MSRP. E-flexes, however, are around, I think it's a good question, $4,250 MSRP. No, it seems high. I can find out for you, Carlos. I know the E-Vault max on the top of my head, but I'm going to send you my email, Carlos, and you're welcome to email me with other questions. Going back down. Carlos, they can be repaired on site. So we have a program now where if you do go on site, we have certain systems in place to help you with that. Typically, the maintenance here is fairly easy. Like for example, our E-Vault, these 3 circles on the side of it, are really terrible pixelation, but these circles on the side of the LCD display of the E-Vault, they will light up in the event that something happens. So it's a low temperature sensor, overheating. These circles will light up. So that's going to make your life not only easier for troubleshooting, but then when you do get in touch with our technical support team, you can say, okay, I saw a low temperature light on my E-Vault. What's the next step? And they can take the next step painlessly. Ronald, you're very welcome. Carlos, you're very welcome. Guys, it is, what's the time? It is 11:55, so I have 5 minutes to answer any other questions. Tom, thanks for the kind feedback. I really appreciate it. And let me go back, just in case anybody needs to get in touch with me. We'll leave it open for a few more minutes for questions while I'm here. It's a good question. Burgess, that we're assuming that retail pricing is if they got quoted from someone like you. So that retail price is including what you're purchasing it for, and we're also putting on some margin for you. We're not trying to pigeonhole anybody, so we essentially try to make it so the MSRP is clearly different than what an installer is buying it for, just because installer is going to do all the labor, have other projects, things like that. I hope that helps, or does. Hi, Andrew. Thanks for joining up here. Am I going to make outback power ties with inverter like you have Schneider and Solark? Hopefully, yes. I'm not too familiar. I know we have some things that we're talking about with Outback. I do not know too much about them, if we're being honest. But nonetheless, I do know we are trying to do something maybe in 2022 with Outback. Some other things that I don't want to say too much, I might get in trouble. But we are looking to do something, is the simple answer to your question. For Jess. You're funny. Luis, is Iguana a competitor? I guess so. I mean, they do lithium batteries. They have a different approach to how they do that, right? They have I think they have all-in-one solutions. Now, I don't know too much about Iguana. I haven't heard a lot about them. I do know they're limited because you have to get like the battery and inverter. You can't mix and match, and the sizes are like in place. So the simple answer is yes. I just don't know a lot about them to draft a comparison. You know, I know a lot about some of the other providers out there. Iguana is not usually in my sphere too often. Bueller, any other questions? Bueller? You're welcome, Jess. Thanks, Jeremy, appreciate it. Alrighty, everybody, coming into the top of the hour here. Gene, you are very welcome. Again, thank you for joining the webinar here today. If you guys have any other questions, shoot over an email to myself or our team. Slides and recordings will be sent out probably tomorrow once this recording processes. Again, thank you for joining us here at Fortress Power. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks again. Bye-bye.